everyone. Welcome inside the 7 Sports Cave on a Lions Misery Sunday. I'm your host, Justin Rose, joined today by a new face here. Devin Gardner joins the show, former Michigan quarterback. I got to know this guy through Isaiah Hull, the publisher of WolverinesWire.com. Guys, welcome to the show. Appreciate you both being here.
Thanks
Excited?
for having us. Thanks for having us.
Of course, as always.
I mean, the Snappy Cash over here, he's looking pretty fresh.
I'm just doing what I can. I want the cave to seem and look professional.
He comes like this, and I look homeless now.
We like you all the same. No, those are expensive jeans, I can tell.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice jeans.
Look at that wash. It's expensive.
Very nice jeans.
I spent upwards of, I think, $20 on them. So it really went out.
And a bargain hunter to find.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, guys. Plenty to get to today on the show. We got Lions, Michigan, Michigan State, of course. Blake Griffin actually got one-on-one with him, so we will be talking to him later on into the show. And, of course, we'll take your tweets throughout the episode using the hashtag 7SportsCave. I'll get to those at the end of the show. So anything you say, we say, you have something to say about it, please get them in, and we'll get to that later. Let's start with the Detroit Lions, guys. I mean, gosh, if we haven't seen this script before, here it is again. I want to know if there's anybody out there who's like never seen a Lions game before and like watched today's game and is like, oh no, that must only happen like once every now and then to them. But it's like, no.
You get to a game like this, and you start seeing them really look good at the very beginning, and Kerryon Johnson has that 32-yard run, and you think, here we go. The 100-yard rushing day that he had last week against New England, maybe that's going to continue, and then the Lions inexplicably go away from it.
Well, I mean, inexplicably, yes, but inexplicably they do the things that are inexplicable, like the penalties. Devin, I mean, as a former player, how frustrating is it when guys continue to do things? Eli Harold, 3rd and 7, they stop the play. He's offsides. It's like, ah!
I mean, as a player, it's terrible, right? Because you work so hard all week, you work so hard during the offseason, things like that, and now you're in a position to win and in a position to succeed, and then something like that happens, and especially as a professional, right?
Such a game of inches. It's so cliche to say, but football really is. I mean, you even look at the first punt of the game. Sam Martin pins it down to the 1-inch line, and the guy's tippy toenail is on the goal line, so it's a touchback for the Cowboys. But look, the one thing that the Lions said that they wanted to do is to contain Ezekiel Elliott.
They did a terrible job of doing exactly that. Of course, Ezekiel Elliott has a career day against the Lions. How many times have you heard that?
A player has a career day against the Lions. Shocker.
I mean, with Ezekiel Elliott doing it, that's terrifying considering when you think about guys like Matt Flynn that it's like you're used to hearing like, oh, guy came out of nowhere and had the career day against the Detroit Lions. And then Ezekiel Elliott, who's just absolutely just a monster, and he's catching balls and he's running with it, and it was just unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because we know that they have Ezekiel. That's the one thing we know for sure. We can bet on it that Ezekiel is going to come to play, and for us not to be able to stop him. That's kind of ridiculous. You have to game plan and make someone else beat you. You don't let your best guy beat us. What I mean?
I thought it was really interesting. Matt Patricia usually doesn't give a lot away, as most coaches don't in the NFL. In this post-game press conference, he was upset with the personnel that was out there towards the end of the game. And I have to imagine that Dak Prescott identified Jared Davis was on Zeke on the play that basically was the game clincher. I mean, as a quarterback who identified, do you think that Dak probably was like, oh, yeah, this has got to be good?
Please don't call a timeout. Hurry up, let's run the play, right? Because if you got a guy like Zeke against a guy who is inferior as far as pass coverage or anything like that, I mean, you're licking your chops, right? And you're please, everybody go deep, and we'll just have this guy one-on-one with him. And so that's crazy.
I'll ask you guys this. What do you guys think about this team after 4 games? What is this Lions team?
Well, weirdly, they won the one game out of the 4 that you would expect that there's no chance that they ever would win. So it's kind of hard to say, like, to prognosticate where they go, because if they can beat New England, they really can beat anybody.
Well, and they weren't out of any game except for the Jets game in reality. I mean, and it just stinks that the rest of the division is going to see the 49ers, who are without Jimmy Garoppolo, and different things are going to happen. But Devin, what do you think?
They are who we thought they were. Every
Okay,
time.
that's a good quote.
They are exactly who we thought they were, right? And you think we're going to be a little different just because of new coaching staff and stuff. And I think the Patriots game is kind of an anomaly, right? I think we're going to win some games, but it's going to be tough to, make the playoffs. And that's what we expect when we play our quarterback so much money, right?
Right.
And we expect him to, you know, pick up the slack, right, when we're not doing well. And he hasn't been able to do it enough for us to be successful. So
it's so tough because this is one of those games where you can't point at Matthew Stafford as much as you could maybe in the Jets game, as maybe as you could in the 49er game. This was a game where the defense really, I mean, look, you score a touchdown with 2 minutes and 14 seconds left. You're up by a point. You're like, okay, defense, do something. And the Lions just, you know, sadly, they didn't. 2-2 is a lot different than 1-3 in the NFL. But, yeah, we'll move on now. We'll talk about the Michigan game. Look, this was a game. I know you were out there. I know you were watching. And we're going to break it down with Devin here in the next segment, so stay tuned for that. But just overall, I never thought Michigan was going to lose that game.
Yeah.
I knew that they'd never come back on the road from a 17-point deficit, but there was just something about that. Once Northwestern cooled off, I was like, it's going to take some time because this Michigan team is by no means a final product.
Right.
But when you guys look at this game, what were you thinking first 7 minutes as opposed to first half?
Northwestern always plays us very tough, no matter how good they are, no matter how good we are. I mean, at some point they're going to have to make them one of our rivals just because it's always a tough game and it's always a battle. And they were so well coached by a guy who I got a chance to meet at Big Ten Media Day, who's a great guy, a tough guy, right? And so they lose one of their brothers, right, one of their teammates, and football is kind of stolen from them. And I think that they were going to come out and be extra motivated. You know, I'm pretty sure they're aware that they always play us close. And I think they came out and they gave exactly what I thought they would give, right? I said it would be a quarter and a half of just passion and inspiration. And if we can withstand the big punch that we're going to get from them, I think we'll be fine, right? And so we don't have the most explosive offense in the nation, you know what I mean? But we came back and we slowly, incrementally battled back and won the game, right? Won a tough game. And so I think that spoke volumes for our team, you know, because only being our second road game and for Shea Patterson to lead the team to victory.
Yeah.
And pretty much the same thing. And I said to some people on the sidelines during the game, I said, I don't think that there's any chance that Michigan loses this game. I never thought that even when they were down, 17-0 early on, I didn't think there was any chance that Michigan was going to lose. I just thought that Michigan was trying to be a little too cute with a lot of different plays. They come out the gates trying to pass the ball. I know Northwestern didn't have like a very top-tier pass defense and everything, but to me, it just felt like Michigan was trying to do some things that weren't really in the wheelhouse of what they want to do, and yet they kind of bit them a little bit for a minute, but then they just did what you would expect and, settled down, settled in.
The defense is outstanding. This could be one of the best statistical defenses Michigan ever had, is if they can continue to keep the pace that they're on right now. That being said, guys, what's up with this offense? Why can't they seem to put it together? I mean, honestly, you tell us because we're all trying to figure it out too.
Listen.
Okay, I'm listening.
Listen. The offense is fine, right? Score 42 points, 49 points. We score points, right? And so when you have a defense that's so good and so far ahead of your offense, there's so many things you can work on, right? And that's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing in the beginning of the season, things are getting worked on, right? Overkill on the run game, right? Because they know we're going to need the run game, especially later in the year. And so I think that we're just continuing to work on things, and you can see the maturation of Shea Patterson just continuing to get better at every facet of the offense. And I think it's being opened up. We're seeing the type of weapons that we have. You have to remember, this is only, the fourth game we've seen Shea Patterson as a Michigan quarterback. And I don't think people understand the pressure that comes along with being the Michigan quarterback. And so I think they're still finding out about him. In every game, he's proven that he can be trusted. In every game, he's proving that the offense can be more and more broad, right? And so I think that the offense will be fine. And when you have a defense like that, you have a little leeway to work on your game.
Do you have any experience as a quarterback at the University of Michigan? Anything like that?
I feel like I've dabbled in the arena of Michigan quarterbacking. I'm not sure. We're going to have to check some tapes and stuff, but I think I've dabbled in that arena.
So along those lines, I guess the one thing that maybe outsiders would say about the Michigan is when they get into tough games on the road or big games against bigger, more talented opponents, that's when, do you feel that instead of working at an overkill on some of the things, maybe that's detrimental to them figuring out some other things that they're going to need? Because, look, Michigan State's not going to let you run the football as effectively as you might like.
Right.
Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, they're not going to let you run the football like you would. You can't run it 60 times like you could against, lesser competition to get it right. I mean, I guess I hear what you're saying, practice makes perfect, but do you think they're maybe shooting themselves a little bit in the foot? Because, look, that was till 2 minutes left in the game till they took the lead. This is not necessarily like, oh, okay, we've had our fun, now we better win the game. I guess that's where I'm at with that line.
I think a lot of what we're seeing from Michigan is kind of what we saw when Michigan State started to turn the corner and be just this dominant force in the Big Ten, right? Where we're running the ball, and now we can do the trick plays. We can hit you over the top with big plays because we've hammered the run game home, right? And they continue to hammer home, and now they get good backs, and now they're starting to run the ball well. Khaleke Hudson is not Khaleke Hudson, but Karan Higdon is a phenomenal running back, right? And if you give him a seam, he's going to crack it, right? And so you need to have that weapon. And then without the offensive line who haven't played together, right? It's only been 4 games. They've all played as a cohesive unit. If you don't have that camaraderie and from live game action practicing it, I don't think that we're going to be able to use that weapon that we have. And not only Karan Higdon, but also Chris Evans, who's a great weapon. And so I think that we're kind of taking a page, unfortunately, out of Michigan State's book where you're going to run the ball. Oh, my gosh, this is so boring. I can't watch it anymore. Oh, my gosh, this is a huge pass. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nico Collins, right? Tariq Black will be back at some point, right? And so it's just – I feel like it's kind of a mirror image, and I think Michigan State's kind of getting away from that type of game, and that's why they're having some trouble.
Absolutely. All right, coming up next, we got to talk about that Michigan offense, that final drive, 2 final drives. Devin Gardner is going to break them down both for us when we come back here on the 7 Sports Cave. Stay with us.